Hello! Today I'm going to introduce you to my new collection of fabrics from Snow Leopard Designs, and the collection is called Treasure Island, and it's been inspired by all my various trips to exotic islands during my life, especially the Isles of Scilly, which are off the southwest tip of Cornwall in England, and they're bathed by the Gulf Stream, so you get these lovely exotic plants that you don't find in the rest of England, and wonderful crystal clear waters for snorkeling. And also it's also inspired by the islands off the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, where I've snorkeled when I've been up there hunting for dinosaurs. So I actually consider this my best collection to date from Snow Leopard. So let's get on with showing you some of the designs. So this first one is called Jellyfish, and it shows a great variety of different types of jellyfish, and I've had such a wonderful time with jellyfish when I've been snorkeling, both here down by the sea and also in the Isles of Scilly in Australia, and they're just such beautiful things and such a variety of colour and texture, so it makes a lovely multi-directional design. And that's Jellyfish, so I'm really proud of Jellyfish. And then the next design is called Tropical Leaves, and that's inspired by some of the botanical books in my extensive Snow Leopard archive, and it shows a variety of different leaves from exotic tropical plants, just like you would find on a treasure island. And I've arranged them in large bouquets with butterflies flying between the bouquets in order to soften the design and give it more of a lyricism about it. So I'm really pleased about it, and it's on a lovely pale blue ground, and I've put in as many different exotic variegated leaves as I could find in my botanical archive. So that's Tropical Leaves. And the next one is called Strikey Fish. And with Strikey Fish, I've taken all the exotic tropical fish I could find with stripes on them, and by placing them all together it creates a design which actually works as a stripe, although it's just all these different fish put together. I'm really pleased with Strikey Fish, and I think you'll agree it works really well to create the striped element within the collection. And after Strikey Fish comes a Hibiscus design, which is large exotic blooms of hibiscus flowers, which I put together quite densely, and they've got lovely veining in the petals. And interestingly enough, with the hibiscus design, I've used exactly the same layout as my Brassica, very popular Brassica fabric, which I did for the KFC, which is just cells and cells. And with this one I replaced the kale I used in Brassica with hibiscus flowers because I thought the veining was so similar, and I think that will produce an equally successful fabric. And here is an example of Brassica. So So you can see that I've used the same layout of just densely packed blooms, whereas in Brassica I've used these kale plants, whereas in Hibiscus I've used the exact same layout but using the exotic blooms. So that's Hibiscus. And if that wasn't enough, then you get Parrots. And as you all know, all tropical islands and all treasure islands are full of exotic parrots flying around and squawking. And I've even put one or two budgies in as well. And I put that on a black ground to accentuate the colours. So it's a very exotic tropical parrot design called Parrots. The Snow Leopard Designs Treasure Island. And if Parrots wasn't enough for you, then there's also tropical butterflies. And I've taken, again, all the images I could find in my archive of exotic tropical butterflies. Rather than the regular meadow ones you get in England, I've gone for the really exotic ones. And I've put them all together to create a very dense texture and pattern. So it's a great mix of vibrant colour and different textures and patterns to create a very overall very dramatic effect done at quite a large scale. And if tropical butterflies isn't enough for you, then I've done a shell design which is called Nautilus Shells, and it's based on the Nautilus shells that you actually find in the Queensland coast and on the islands in the Great Barrier Reef. And I've actually picked these up off the beach when I've been there. And I put them all together so it creates this multi-striped texture. I'm putting the different Nautilus shells together. So it's always good to have a shell design, because my shell designs do tend to be rather popular. And this one, again like the Strikey Fish, it creates this amazing stripe texture. And that's Nautilus Shells in all its glory. And if Nautilus Shells aren't enough for you, then I've done another design called Sand Dollars. And Sand Dollars is developed from the sea urchins that I've found over the years on the beach. And I've even found hundreds of fossilized sand dollars from the Jurassic era, where they were laid down 100 million years ago. Though these ones are more modern sea urchins, and I've done them in a great variety of colours. And as you can see, this is a slightly smaller scale design which will work together really well with the larger scales of designs like Jellyfish and Stripey Fish and Hibiscus. So I'm giving you in this collection a wide variety of scale and texture. So there we have it, Sand Dollars. Then after Sand Dollars, I thought, why don't I do a design based on sea anemones? because I thought sea anemones, when I looked at them, and I often see them when I'm snorkeling in the clear crystal waters, sea anemones remind me very much of little chrysanthemums. So it's almost this small pattern of sea anemones worked like a little chrysanthemum all over design. And you know how popular my chrysanthemum designs have been. So that again is a smaller design to work with the bigger, larger patterns like Jellyfish and Hibiscus. I see a lot of those even when I'm at Kimmeridge and along the Kimmeridge clay when I'm looking for dinosaurs. And I look in the rock pools and you've got these beautiful sea anemones. So having seen them so often when I've been swimming, I just thought it'd be such a great thing to have a fabric design which was just solid sea anemones. Because when you look at everything in nature close up, it's just so beautifully designed. Sea anemones. And if that isn't enough for you, then I've done a design of starfish called Starfish. And that again is a variety of different types of starfish which I've researched. Again, which you're going to find on a treasure island. And finding things like this when you're on an island is the treasure you're finding. It's just this amazing beauty in nature. And with starfish, as you can see, I've put it on a two-tone stencil ground of starfish, so it makes it more three-dimensional with the actual starfish floating on a stencil starfish ground. So that's starfish. And in any collection you need simple designs. So this one which I've developed here it's based on coral reef and it's called Seabed. And it's really important in any collection to have a very simple tonal design, which in this case I've just done in black and white. And they work so well when you put the really strong full colour motifs on top of these. It really, when they sing out, so if you can imagine Fussy cutting out some jellyfish or hibiscus and floating them on the ground of Seabed, how beautiful it would look. So that's Seabed, a very simple coral design, just done in black and white. But I wasn't content with just doing coral in black and white. I wanted to do it in full colour. So I came up with this design, which is called Coral Reef. And what I've done here is I've taken all the different types of coral that you find in a coral reef, like you find in the Great Barrier Reef, and put them together in a repeat to make a spectacular design. Because when you snorkel over a coral reef, it's just amazing, because you just think, how can anything be so beautiful as you pass over all these different patterns and textures. And so it's inspired me to put it into fabric, and here it is in all its glory. And you could even fussy cut some of the fish and other creatures and have them floating over the top of the coral reef, because when you're swimming you see so many lovely fish as well. And not being content with one coral reef design, I've done another design which is called sea coral. And sea coral's in very intense colours, and again it's based on the patterns you get within coral. And these filler designs work so well with the larger major designs. And this one, I have to confess, was actually inspired by a 19th century pattern in my snow leopard archive, because in the 19th century designers were often inspired by natural forms, and coral was a very common motive. So the design inspired me, and I rearranged the colours because I just wanted it to sizzle the same way coral does when you see it in the sea. So that's a very strong filler design. And finally, there's another filler design which is called Seaweed Coral, and that's just done in shades of blue, so it's on a pale duck egg blue ground. Then you've got the darker seaweeds and a trellis of coral, and that was also inspired by a 19th century fabric in my archive. And it's wonderful to have these small designs to work with the larger patterns. So that's Seaweed Coral. And that concludes Snow Leopard Designs Treasure Island collection, which it launches in the fall of 2021, and it should be shipping to stores in about June 2022, so that's next summer. You can all experience the wonder of a treasure island, and I urge all stores who love it to buy it in, because I think it will be a very popular collection, and I think it's the best collection I've ever done for snow leopard designs, and I also think it works really well with my K-Facet collective designs, and I think it fully rivals what I'm doing with K. So thank you all very much for watching this video. Thank you so much.